Adding interactivity to our PDFs. It's fairly simple. InDesign offers a lot of features for adding some basic navigational interactivity. What we're going to be concerned with is some pretty simple ones: bookmarks, hyperlinks, and navigation buttons. You can see here, even in our generic book file here that we have a sort of a previous and back button already set up. They also have some preloaded ones that you can use that might be a little bit simpler to use for you guys. Right now, in our view here, I'm on our Essentials workspace. So for kind of like typesetting, when we were playing around with that, using the different workspaces can be super handy. So when we go to working with interactivity, you don't have to work this way the entire time we're designing these things, but when you want to go to interactivity, it's a little bit easier to go to interactive for PDF. And you'll see a lot like the typesetting, or was it a lot like the typography one? It has a lot of your different options already that you're generally going to use, like your hyperlinks and bookmarks and buttons and forms. These are going to be the three things that we're going to be concerned with for creating our interactivity. And you can see as you click on I'll go back to the view. As you click on your hyperlinks, it gives you, obviously this is blank because we don't have any hyperlinks, but it will give you a list of any hyperlinks that you have, any kind of error messages, what page it falls on, etc., etc. Same thing for bookmarks. Obviously there's nothing here because we don't have anything in it. We don't have any bookmarks yet, rather. But your list of bookmarks will show up there, and then also your buttons and forms, any kind of buttons, and the different actions that it has, either like previous, when we get into it, you'll see there's previous page buttons, there's all sorts of different crazy interactivity you can add to these buttons. It's pretty much exactly like web building and building simple buttons in HTML, if you guys are familiar with that, all that fun stuff. So what we'll start with first is hyperlinks. Again, all this stuff is really basic, really simple, and easy to do for creating our interactive PDFs. Let's say, for example, we want this to be a hyperlink. A very basic way to do this is to select what you want to be your hyperlink. If it's text, usually you have to highlight the text. And let's say we want it to go to juxtapose, right? So this is where we're going to be creating our hyperlinks. All of your, wherever you choose to put it, the magazine title on every page, those will be your hyperlinks. So whether it's an image, like whether you grab this logo and save it and place it as an image, or whether you type it out as text, you can highlight the text to make it a hyperlink. So what we're going to do is we're just going to select all here, and I'm just going to copy, edit, copy, or the command C. So we're going to copy this URL back to our InDesign file. We have this text highlighted. We're going to go to our hyperlinks, and then obviously again there's a couple different ways to do the same thing. You can hit your new hyperlink button here. You can also do it from the contextual menu. The contextual menu brings up this dialog box. If you just hit the new hyperlink button, it just creates this with the default options. And you'll see you have a whole bunch of different options here. So you have a link to a URL. You can have it be a link to a file, like if you have another PDF stored on a server. So if you want it to go to, I don't know, paperwork that a client is supposed to fill out or something like that. You can have it go to an email, so it'll be a mail to. You can have it go to a page in your document as well. You can have it go to a text anchor, which I'll show you how to set up. If you choose to do it, you can set up a text anchor, and you can have this, when clicked, go to an anchor in your document. Similar to a bookmark, but the hyperlinks you can choose to show differently. A lot of times people will, like if you set up a text anchor as a hyperlink, sometimes you can show that like highlight so it looks like a hyperlink. Sometimes people like that visual. Anyway, And you can also have it be a shared destination, which is shared within the page. So right now we're gonna uncheck shared destination. If you don't want to override what the character looks like, you can just have it be same style, and that way it won't override any settings. If you have character styles or paragraph styles, you can have it match those styles within your documents. You can have the type when it opens in a PDF. An invisible rectangle basically will not show a border, essentially. It'll show the frame if you do a visible rectangle, just to show that it's a hyperlink. You can have it highlight, you can have it invert, outline, inset, and then you'll see we have a variety of different options. If you want to invert it, you want to have it be visible, sorry. So you can have that rectangle highlight as you hover over it, things like that. So you can kind of do basic rollovers, if you guys are familiar with that. I'm actually going to go back to none, so we don't have any visible rectangles here. Invisible rectangle, so we don't get this square around our link. So it's basically, that's the basics of creating some of the options. So what we're going to do is we're going to paste our URL that we copied. I'm just going to hit tab. And now you'll see from hitting tab, I don't know if I can undo. No, I can't. When I hit tab, now that it's an actual web address, when it just said whatever it was, HTTP Cornelia, I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it, this status was red because it's not an actual link. So once you actually paste an actual working link in this dialog box, you'll see now the status updates to OK. So I'm just going to hit OK. And then you'll see, and you can also rename these if you want to. Oops. I believe you can rename these. Or not. No. I think it just automatically names what you're selecting. I thought you could rename them, apparently not. And you'll see your status and what page it lands on is page 1. The only unfortunate thing is you can't really preview these until you export, so it's kind of a pain. But you'll see that's where it gives you this status. You'll see that it works just fine, and you have to kind of trust that with InDesign. So that's creating a basic hyperlink. And again, like when you have, your juxtapose going to their website, you can either have it be an image, or you can have it linked from a text file. If you were to have it linked to an image, let's say, for example, let's click this guy here, and we want to make this a new hyperlink. I'll just set it to, I don't even know. We'll click an add and have it go to origins.com. Now I'm going to get all sorts of junk mail. So we'll have this, and now you can see here our david.tiff. The status is not working because it's not an actual link yet. So once we paste our destination, it's online and it double checks it. So if you're online, it will automatically update. And then you'll see now here, character style is not available because it's not a character. We selected an object on the page. And you have the same options here. I'm going to have it be an invisible rectangle anyway. But you have the same options here for having those rectangles, et cetera, et cetera. And you can see now the link. It gives you this sort of dotted line to indicate that it is a link within your page. It gives you a visual to show you that this is a link. And again, our status is good, so we're going to kind of have to trust that. That's the basics of setting up hyperlinks. You're really just copying a destination, bless you, from you're copying your web address from your destination, and you're creating a new link by selecting whichever you want to be a link, creating a new hyperlink, and pasting that information within that dialog box. Creating bookmarks is relatively simple. Bless you. It's actually really simple. Bookmarks can be handy for a variety of things. I said it in a previous class. Again, it's more they're really more handy for larger documents. Catalogs they come in really handy for. But something like this, and even this here is only technically a 6-page, 3-page spread, 6-page document, so it's not really incredibly useful. But I wanted to show you guys how to do that. So if you wanted to have, I don't know if you've looked at the text for our article, but if you wanted to have, you know, the different sections, if you wanted to have bookmarks to those different sections, like here, you know, these different sections here, let's say we wanted to have bookmarks to the days on our page. And they're basically just navigational items that will show up when you open the PDF. You'll have the bookmarks in the sidebar that you can quickly kind of click to. They're sort of similar to hyperlinks, but like within a document, if that makes sense. But again, it's a little bit more handy for larger documents and things like catalogs, where like if you have like an Ella Bean catalog and you have like backpacks, pants, shirts, etc. You know what I mean? So if you have, you know, if you want to drive to a specific area, but let's just say, for example, we wanted this Thursday, August 11th. I guess it's a tour itinerary. Again, we're going to be doing the same thing here. It's way simpler because we don't have to copy and paste any information. You can either select the item, select the frame, and you're going to create new bookmark, and you could call it whatever you'd like. Let's just call it Thursday. Or you can actually select the text. We'll go to a different one. Let's go to Tuesday here. You want to select the text here. And as you're selecting text and you hit a new bookmark, you'll see it automatically creates a text anchor. And these function slightly differently. As far as bookmarks go, they function exactly the same. Since we selected the text frame for Thursday, it created a standard bookmark. And then since we selected the text for the Tuesday, it created a text anchor. It's still going to create that bookmark, but it creates an anchor as well. If you want to go back and create a hyperlink, I'll show you, but it'll show up in that list of hyperlinks if you wanted to create a hyperlink within your document. We're just going to hit enter there. And then let's say Sunday we'll make a text anchor as well. So we're going to hit new bookmark. And then you can rename these. You don't have to have the whole, let's say we don't want to have the whole title here. Rename bookmark. Let's say we don't want that entire thing. We just want to keep it simple. So now you see we have our bookmarks here. So going back to hyperlinks, let's say, for example, you wanted to create, I don't know, something relates to, let's say this relates to this Tuesday or Sunday. You can create a new hyperlink here. And then instead of linking to a URL, you can link to a text anchor. And then you choose the document. You can also have it relate to other documents. They just have to be on the same server. They have to be accessible. Oh, and it should show up. I don't know why it's not showing up there, but our text anchor should be showing here. We're not going to worry about it too much. I'm not going to have you create a text anchor hyperlink, but it should be showing up here. Those text anchors. Anyway, those text anchors should be showing. It might be because I don't have my document saved. But anyway, when you create text anchors, they'll show up down here. So they're like sort of alternative ways to create bookmarks. I personally find it easier just to create bookmarks. I'm going to cancel out of that. So we have our bookmarks here. And then lastly, buttons and forms. You can essentially turn any object into a button. So like in this case, these buttons kind of already exist. Or InDesign also has a variety of presets already. So let's say we want this item to be a button. So under buttons and forms, you have various different types. Buttons, checkboxes, combo boxes, list boxes, radio buttons, signature field, etc., etc. So these are all for adding. Some of these are for more, a little bit more advanced interactive PDFs, like a signature field or a text field. You can create a spot for people to input. Like you guys have seen those forms that you can fill out online, the PDF. So you can create those within InDesign, create text fields to fill out, etc., etc. Right now, we're just going to be concerned with buttons. And then you'll see here all the options are available, or most options are available. You can name your button if you choose to. Events, this is where some of like the coding stuff comes in. If you guys are familiar with coding, you'll recognize some of this. If you guys are not familiar with coding, don't worry about it because it automatically does it. So you can have an on release or tap. That's usually the default. And that's added, obviously it's not anything new, but that's added with like touch screens and things like that. So when you release the mouse or tap on a touch screen, you can have it be on a click, which is a little bit more traditional sort of web-based interface thing. So obviously on click is when you click the mouse. Roll over, on roll off, so that's if you just roll over it without clicking, or when you come off of it. But right now we're just going to be concerned with on release or tap. And you can have the appearance be normal. You can have a rollover state and a click state. What you need to do is, if you wanted to change these, if you didn't want to use the presets, what you need to do is create, and I can really quickly, but you can create, I'll do it for the next one, but you can create like a different colored version of this and just show it here, kind of like when you're working with layers. I'll show you. But right now we'll just leave this alone here. And then you have a couple different PDF options, and then here's where you have that printable or not. If you uncheck printable, it obviously doesn't print when you hit print. If you keep printable checked, it'll print when you actually print the document, right? There's other places where you can also hide that that feature as well. But we're just going to do our basic I wanted to say rollover, basic button here. And then here's where you have a whole bunch of actions to go along with that. You need an event to happen, or an action rather, to happen with that event, right? So you can have it go to a destination, like a URL, or have it go to an anchor, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can see here, go to first page, go to last page, next, previous, URL, sounds, videos, animations, all these crazy advanced or more advanced options here. What we're going to do is we're just going to have this, since this is back, we're going to have this go to previous page. And what this is going to do is it's going to go back one page. It's the start page, so it will probably go to the last page of this document. Let's show you that rollover very quickly. We're going to change the color here, as I just did with the swatches. I just changed it to yellow. And now you'll see in our buttons and forms, our rollover is going to preview as yellow. And then if we go back to normal, and this doesn't affect the actual document, this only affects essentially the coding. So when you open it, it's going to show up as white. And then when you roll over it, it's going to show up as yellow. So that's how we have. And then you can also have a click state if you wanted to have a click state. For argument's sake, let's have our click state be yellow, just to do it. And then if you wanted to, I don't know if this is going to screw the whole thing up, but let's throw a drop shadow on it just for fun. Let's bring that distance down a little bit. and then go back to our buttons and forms. So now you can kind of preview through what that's going to look like when it's interactive. You don't have to set up rollovers or clicks. I'm just showing you this if you choose to do this. So again, we set up our action on release or tap. It's going to go to the next page. Everything else, well, except for these states, everything else I'm kind of leaving default. We have our bookmarks set up. We have our hyperlinks that are okay. Everything is in working order. So now, again, you can't really preview the stuff until you export it, which is kind of annoying. I wish there was a way to sort of live preview your interactivity. But again, you just kind of, obviously that's why they have these warnings here, so you kind of trust that everything's working. So we get to the point where we're exporting. If you guys want to try it and export first, just to make sure you know how to do it, that's totally fine. But once you're ready to export your document as an interactive PDF, this is where we're going to have that extra step. You're going to package these things like we did our last assignments, but you're also going to need to export for PDF interactivity. It's just one extra step for exporting. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to have this be, I already tested it once, so I'm just going to call it whatever this is, INT for interactive 2. And then since I already did it, it's already selected. But you have all these different options for exporting. We're going to make sure that we click PDF interactive, and this way it knows to do all the back-end coding and all that fun stuff that we set up. I'm just going to throw this right on my desktop. I'm going to hit save, and it's going to give me a couple warnings. Oh, wait, it's going to give me options first, then it's going to give me a couple warnings. So right now we're just leaving all this to the default settings. We're going to do all pages. You can have a variety of different options. You can have it do a range of pages or a range of spreads if you wanted it to, but right now we're gonna export the entire document. Viewing, you can have these override. Like, do you ever open a PDF and it opens like giant, or it opens up, you can have it zoom to fit the full width or the full height, or you can have it set. Right now we're going to leave it as a default. So a lot of times people have their PDF viewers to open up at certain sizes anyway, so I feel like it's kind of pointless. Layout, again, you can have it open up a spread, or you can have it open up 2 up. We're just going to have it open up to the default. However, the viewer is going to be looking at these. You can also have it open in full screen mode, which honestly aggravates me when people do that. Options, we're going to include all options. Embed thumbnails, view after exporting. You can leave that checked or unchecked. So basically, this is where we're going to get not warnings, but some warnings here. So we're going to export this. So this is telling me, this is a good warning to get. This is telling me that there's overset text on page 2, which basically means that there's extra text that's not showing. Remember when we were working with text a while back? And you get that little red plus sign showing you have overset text. It's telling us that we have text that's not going to show. For this demo, this is all dummy text, so I'm not surprised that comes up. But for our assignment, if you get this warning, you need to make sure that you reset the text so that all of your copy is showing, right? So that's just giving you a warning, again, showing you that you have text that's being hidden. So I'm just going to hit OK because this is dummy text. And then here, this shouldn't happen to you, but this is happening to me because I'm using images off the server. So it's basically telling me that it contains links to files that are missing or modified and that might be inaccessible to other URLs. So somebody outside of this room that doesn't have access to our server is using it. The images might not show. That's just because I didn't update the links when I opened up this file. So you want to make sure that your links are all good and things like that if you get this warning. So I'm going to hit OK because I don't really care about that. Then this one, this is basically just a standard color warning saying that the document is using CMYK. Colors will be converted to RGB in interactive PDFs because they're converting to a screen-based viewing platform, so that there could be some color shift between going from CMYK to RGB. I wouldn't worry about it for the purposes of our class. But it's just showing you that, like, again, this isn't going to show purple, but like that green might be a little bit off from the print, just because it's changing color spaces. That should be the last warning. Yep. And then it goes through its thing. And then I have it set to automatically open the PDF. So it opened our PDF here. And now you can see you have your page thumbnails. So that's where we embedded those page thumbnails. And then here's where we have our bookmarks. So now we can go through our bookmarks, and it takes us to the different sections that we set up. And this basically just snaps to the page that these anchors are on. And then our URL. So there's our little, we get our little pointer there. And we get our URL that goes to Juxtapose magazine there. I'll close all these. And then this dude going to origins. So showing you the text-based URL versus an object-based URL. They handle the same exact way, right? You click on them and they go to a link. And then our previous and next pages, here's our sweet rollover that we created. Neat. And then we didn't set anything for the other one, so they just, but that's, so it goes to the next page. Let's open this up. Oops, that's not what I wanted. This way. Go back to page 1. This should go, yeah, it's not going to go anywhere because it goes back to the previous, and since it's page 1, there is no previous. But yeah, so that's how our rollover works. And then on the click, you saw that super fast. Our drop shadow, that's why generally I don't set up on-click states, because it's so fast. I feel like it's useless. Like, awesome. There's a drop shadow for a quarter of a second.
Can you change the length of that?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. You might be able to. I mean, if you hold down. So right now I'm holding the mouse button. So I think there's probably a way you can change it, but generally it's just set to how quickly people click their mouses, whatever the plural is of computer mouse. But yeah, you can see, like, generally I don't set it because it happens so fast, but unless you hold down. But anyway, so there's our awesome buttons and rollovers and all that fun stuff. So everything works. Again, I wish there was an easier way to preview it from InDesign. There's not really. You kind of have to export, so if something doesn't work, you kind of have to go back and figure it out. But generally, that's why they give you those. I'm going to close this. Generally, that's why they give you these, these warnings. I mean, bookmarks are bookmarks. There's pretty much no way they're not going to work. So as long as they're in this list, those bookmarks are gonna show up. Your hyperlinks, if it doesn't work, it's going to show you. Since we're all online, it's going to show you that your link doesn't work. Or does work. And buttons and forms, theoretically, as long as you have all this stuff set up properly, it should work. InDesign also, this is the last thing I wanted to show you, InDesign also has samples. So if you click our contextual menu, you can bring up sample buttons and forms. So like we did previously here, you can turn any object into a button. Right? So you can create your own buttons if you want to. If you have some cool vector arrows or something that you want to copy and paste into your document or something like that, you can do exactly what I did. I took a vector object and I just turned it into a button. Or they have all these sample buttons here, and you'll see they have a whole bunch of different types of checkboxes, radial buttons, and drop downs, etc., and a whole bunch of different arrows too. So if you wanted to use one of these presets, you certainly can. What you basically do, or what I generally do, I'm sure there's a more efficient way to do it, but what I generally do with these buttons and forms is I'll find one that I like. So let's say we want a red one, and I'll just kind of drag and drop this into the free space here. We'll kind of move that out of the way so we can't see it. I'm going to throw this palette in there. There we go. And you'll see they already have, buttons generally already have these commands or these options preset into them. So it's already set for on, a release, or tap. and this is a next button, so it's already set up for a go to next page. And then you have your rollovers, and then they don't even have a click set up. So you can kind of preview what they're going to look like. And what I will generally do is I'll kind of throw this in my free space here, or, you know, let's say we wanted to replace this one. We can use our smart guides to kind of line it up. And then I'm holding Option and Shift and resizing a little bit. That's a little bit big. You get the general idea. You can kind of place it where you want it to be, and this will automatically go to the next page. It's kind of like our automatic page numbers, right? So this will automatically go to the next page, and then you can either Option click and hold. Maybe I shouldn't have chosen a red one. Or you can copy and paste once you have one set up. You can copy and paste. Let's get rid of this one. And then let's grab, where was the other red one? Let's go to our red previous here. I'm going to drop it. I was trying to, there we go. Snap it to here. Generally size it about the same, and then I'm going to drop, give or take, put it in the same spot, so you get the idea. So we have our previous button here. So you can use their presets if you want. You can see their presets. I honestly feel like they're a little bit dated, I guess, or they're, you know. So if you choose to use them, that's totally fine. If you choose not to use them, and you'll see some of them have, you know, they have these sort of little fatter arrows that are a little bit less dated, I guess. And they're already set up. Again, these are already set up to go back and previous. So I'm just going to do a quick export again, just to show you guys the difference there. Desktop, new folder. Oops, no, I'm saving it. I'm not exporting it. Let's actually export. Oh, it's making me save it first. That's why, because I hadn't saved it. And yeah, I'm going to replace it. There we go. And then I'm leaving all this the same. All those warnings that we went through. I don't care. I don't care. Don't care. Let it do its thing. And now you can see we have our awesome next and back buttons. So they kind of did all the coding for you. Again, I wanted to show you how to do it yourself if you wanted to. That way, you know, again, like I said, these arrows are kind of a little bit cheesy, but you get the general idea. And that is working with basic interactivity in InDesign, setting up hyperlinks, setting up bookmarks, and setting up previous and next navigation buttons. It's all fairly simple to do once you get everything set up and export your document.